Welcome to In the SALOON with. I'm Jane Messer. Hello, I'm Jane Messer and this is StorySALOON, short stories centre stage. In this episode of In the SALOON with, we're talking with writer and editor K.A. Ren Wyld and actor and playwright Katie Beckett. Ren's prize-winning short story, Clatter Tongue, was performed by Katie at our October 7 show. And I'm really pleased that we've been able to bring both artists into the studio today for a deep dive into Ren's story, Clatter Tongue, and much more. But first up, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and first storytellers of this Gadigal land from which we're speaking today. I pay my respects to elders, past and present, and acknowledge their enduring connection to this country, and hope that this conversation between Ren Wyld and Katie Beckett nourishes that enduring connection to country. Wyld has written and published multiple works about Indigenous experiences and history, including short stories, poetry, essays, opinion pieces, and book reviews.
And novels and children's books.
I did have that in earlier. And then this morning in the scrabble of editing, I lost that.
That's okay.
That's all right. So now you get a little bit of flavour of the kind of conversation we're going to be having. Thank you. It will be a conversation. We're fortunate that Ren is in Sydney this week for the relaunch of Australia's oldest literary journal, Southerly, which Ren guest edited with Roanna Gonsalves, who happens to be another StorySALOON featured author. Hi, Ren. How are you feeling today? You've had a really busy week in Sydney.
Yeah, it's been good to pop over and see Sydney and immerse myself in literary things, which I don't really it's quite rare that I do that.
Great. And Katie, hi.
Hello.
See, we've been seeing a lot of each other the last 2 weeks.
It feels like it.
Rehearsals, the show, then there was another coming in for the podcast.
Lunch just a second ago.
Yeah. Listeners, I know what they had for lunch. I'm going to reveal it in another show.
And I know who got lost.
In her hometown. Katie is a celebrated Murray actor and playwright. She has actually a really long CV, which I'm not going to go into, but just to mention, she's the winner of a Bullknaves Award and a Green Room Award for her play Which Way Home that had a sold-out season at Belvoir as part of the Sydney Festival 2017 and toured in 2018. She's had many roles in television and films, including television series Red for Now and Black Comedy, and her film credits include Slam, The Unlisted, Spread the Word, Diary of an Uber Driver, Smart Street, Rake, Harrow, and many more. So, Ren, like any writer, I guess you read the story aloud to yourself while writing it. What kind of sound did you want the story to have?
My method's not like that. Like, I don't know what I'm writing before it's written. So I tend to I see images, like one scene. I'd be a good playwright maybe.
You're the same as me because that's what happens to me. I was just thinking, that's exactly how I write.
So one scene, and that scene will become a book or become a short story. So for this one, I was sitting in the green room of the Perth Writers' Festival in, February 2020, just before the world lockdown. So I'd gone over there because I'd just been awarded the Dorothy Hewitt. So I went over there to receive the award, sitting in the green room, and, all of a sudden I just sort of said, hey, I just thought of a short story. And it was that one scene where Triana's vomiting up weapons, colonial era weapons and that. And it was just this. I had this vivid scene. And then another writer was there, Claire G. Coleman, and she went, well, go home and write it. And it's like, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So I did. I went home and wrote that scene. And then from that, a whole story came out. But it's unusual for me to have that scene at the beginning. Generally, the first scene I write is towards the middle, and then I wrap a story around it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Just before we go any further, let's talk about what Clatter Tongue is about a little bit. It is, you can listen to it. You can listen to Katie Beckett's reading of it, and you can also read the story in the anthology in which it was published in. So in the story, you start reading the story, hearing the story. There's a young girl, Triana, she's at a bus stop and she's getting harassed a bit by this older guy who's in his, let's just call him the creep. Mm-hmm. And you kind of think I did at the beginning, this is a story about sort of coming of age and young girls and all those sort of things. But then it actually goes further into her recent history where she's lost her brother in a death in custody situation where he was a protester and was taken into custody, and her older brother has died. And also her pop, her grandfather, has died. And so the story then you realise is really springing off this deep grief, these layers of grief that she has. And my understanding was that the moth sort of came into her soon after Buddy's death, and they've been kind of trying to silence her. And the story is about her, kind of working through that and grappling with it and evolving.
I thought also she was wrestling with it, whether it's safer to be silent or whether it's more powerful to say your piece and have your voice heard as well.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing, especially for a young black woman, a young black girl. She's a girl,
Yeah, I remember actually when we were talking in the rehearsals and you talked about that, Katie, about it, that issue of is it safer for her to be silent? And that was absolutely from my, white perspective, not something that had occurred to me at all. So I'm glad that's why it's good to have these conversations. So the story, then I know it was 5 years ago, but anything you can remember about the writing process is interesting.
Because before it was an anthology in 2022, it actually won the Borderlands Literary Journal First Nations Prize, so that was 2020. I think it's her awakening to politics and to life and to grief. So, the moths are about silence or speak up, but it's also about grief, how we just bottle that in there. But through her brother's death, she not only then had that experience of losing someone through death in custody, but she inherited all his collection of literature, which, I imagine would have been African American and Aboriginal literature of politics and things that matter. So she's devouring all these books, but not really having anyone there to guide her through that reading and to that awakening. So it's, it's a big awakening. So because, the second time she then vomits up archival material that is kept on us, whether that's stolen generation, whether that's custody, whether that's school reports with racism. So just, vomiting up all these archives that are, quite racist.
In the school principal's office.
In the school principal's office.
She's pretty sure. There were some funny moments.
And the stolen baby and the mission note. They were the two ones that really stuck out for me.
Yeah.
And her telling the baby to be quiet.
Yes. To look after her,
Use that silence to protect yourself.
Yeah, because for a lot of people, children education institutes are places of violence and trauma. But we were talking about that before, about trauma. Sure, there's trauma in here, but I think, we should never overlook the black joy that always comes through these stories as well, and culture and family. The story doesn't end at learning about past and present trauma. It can't end there.
No. I mean, did you find it, Katie? I found it a hopeful ending and a strong ending, and I felt like Triana had found a lot of safety with her mum and her auntie and her grandma.
I thought it gave her hope because whatever was holding her back, the moths and everything, she's been managed to let go. So she's going on to the next stage of life where she's learnt something. She's going to that next stage of becoming a young woman.
Yes.
Which is a lot of hope. Although I was a bit confused at the start because she felt like she had so much. She drew her strength from the men and the males in her life.
Yes.
So then transferring to that, to going to the women, I found interesting too.
Yeah.
Just that how that connection is stronger with the males rather than the females.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
And I wondered, I was going to actually ask you about that, like whether that was intentional that she's in a patriarchy too. Like, I don't mean within necessarily just her family, but that's the bigger culture. And you look, girls do look to the men, to the family very often. And then they're gone. And then there's that absence and she's sort of lost in that. And then her I think it's her auntie who first comes in.
Her Nana.
Nana,
and
that's
then her
right.
auntie and her
Yeah.
mum. Yeah, I think like for a lot of girls, there's this preteen time where you are more bonded with your father or male figures, and then you move into. That's not to say that she wasn't closer to her female family members younger in life, but there was just a moment where she was close to her uncle and her father. Oh no, her father, her grandfather, and her brother.
Yeah, her pop. And also her older brother was pretty dynamic and exciting, and he was passionate and talking about what he believed in and going on marches and being an activist, and being a little younger sister that would obviously you'd look up to that and be excited by that.
Yeah, I guess I was just for me, because I grew up in a matriarchal tribe, and so it's always even my dad, because my mum died when I was 5. So I just had Dad, and so even then Dad would go, no, go to talk to your aunties, go talk to your mother. I mean, not your mother, go talk to, someone else, your grandmother. Yeah. I hid my period from him, so told him I was bleeding out of my nose.
Oh no!
He's seen tissues in the bin, and there was blood on. I'm like, my nose is bleeding. Go to your auntie.
I think like in some of my work, like novels and that too, that I try to put male characters in there that talk back, like reject the white gaze of Aboriginal men, and have like gentler, nurturing men in there. Because that was 5 years ago when that was written, and we were still sort of like grappling with that stupid cartoon that,
Yeah, that was around when my play was travelling around, and mine was a gentle, like for my dad, he was a gentle giant for me.
Exactly. So that was a moment in time.
What's the cartoon?
Was it Leaker, whatever his name was?
Oh, gosh.
It was quite racist and anti-Aboriginal men, and then from that there was the...
who's your father? Oh, you don't have one. Or
yeah,
something
you don't have one,
something like that. It was around Father's Day or something.
Yes, it was. And then from that came that Twitter movement of the hashtag of Indigenous dads, where everybody was sharing stories of their dads and what they meant to them. So, that's way back then. So it was a different time. And so I did want to put fathers and male figures in there that were breaking that racist mould.
Right. So, Ren, that's so interesting about, hearing the evolution of that story. And Katie, you responded with that, you capture the idea of an image and work with that. Can you talk about your writing process and how it works when it's going well?
When it's going well, I studied film, so I never wanted to be an actor. I never wanted to be a writer, but in film studies there is a section for screenwriting, so you have to learn it. People liked it, and it seemed that I was getting, by the end when I finished film school, things are getting kind of more picked up, and I was actually getting more work in front of the camera and writing than behind the camera, because I always wanted to be a director, a DOP, first AD, that was boss everyone around on set. So I think that's how I naturally write. I write with images. It does like filmic as well, because that's what I've studied. And even my play Which Way Home, Auntie Rachel Mazza, she was the director, and she's like, how the F am I going to direct this? It's a road trip movie with just you and your dad sitting in a car. that's all that happens. And it's just, but we did it. But so everything I write is very filmic. Even a play that I've sent out recently, they've come back to me and said it's very filmic. How are we going to put this on stage? I'm like, that's for the director to figure out. I'll find one that can do it. Auntie Rachel.
Yeah. And so what else is informing? Like, do you analyze the image, or do you just sort of try and play with what comes out of it, or is it characters? Are there people in
It's literally going to be just an image of something happening, and there is no characters, or there'll be like a person about like an emotion that I'll chuck onto that thing. That character to kind of build it up into something else, but it's always usually just an image, or smells a lot too for me is what will evoke a lot of things.
Okay. And so then how do you develop that? I mean, clearly you have, because you've got a great CV there, but how does that impressionistic first beginning get structured and get worked through?
At first it's just word vomit. So it's literally just word vomit, and then from that image then I'll start, just say I write 10 pages of just free writing and it's just word vomit, start circling things that are connecting. So then there's obviously some idea subconsciously that I'm connecting to, that I'm wanting to release. Because I kind of use it as a therapy session too. I mean, I've got so much, as most Black people, so much trauma. I see a therapist, a psychiatrist, at all. But, so I kind of, just start connecting that way through there. So it must be, I need to focus on this. I need to get this kind of thing out. And then from there, it will kind of just go on, maybe some more images. My little brother, he creates his own music and he does music producing. So also I'll just get him to whack some beats saying I want this kind of feeling. He'll make some beats and then I can just write to that too. So that's always a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Because everyone in my family is musically inclined, except for me.
Well, yeah, you're the special one.
Exactly.
Actually, when you say that, I'm kind of jealous, because I think for writers who can do that word vomit, not a nice word for it, but let's go with that. Like, there's a freedom in that. You're not second guessing yourself to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's why I do it, because everyone's their worst critic. And as an actor, and we are the worst. We all just pick ourselves apart immensely. So that's why I like that, because there is a freedom, and I'm not thinking, so therefore I can't judge myself. I can just reflect and have an outlook. And and I think, I don't know for you, Ren, but it's always good to have a distance between yourself and the character, because for me it's always a lot of inside stuff I end up coming out with. So it's always good to be able to put that distance.
Yeah. And Ren, what about you and others? I mean, you writing, one thing I was interested in is, like, how do you know something's going to be either a poem or a short story, or how do you know I'm writing this for children, or I'm writing this for adults? Is it something you set about deciding? I think perhaps not, or the work tells you what it wants to be?
As far as like medium goes, I pretty much know when I sit down whether I'm going to do a poem, a short story, or whatever. But the direction and the story itself, I have no idea of. So I have that one image and start writing around it. I jump a lot in time, and then usually a year later it's a big mess and I have to sit there and go, am I going to do chronological, or am I going to keep doing a mess? And but I fix that later. So I write around the image, but I also walk. Like when I go walking, that's when I think of scenes or dialogue or characters or fixing plot holes. I don't tend to sit there every day and like churn out 5,000-10,000. That doesn't work. Sometimes I can sit at the computer for a long time and get nothing, or get very few lines. But that's probably because I keep doing big, difficult novels. The children's book was fun.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't as difficult,
Yeah. I mean, I'm a writer too, and one of the the big things that we have with, particularly with longer, this is why short stories are better, because you can get a short story done in less time and it's completed and it's finished. When you're talking about plays and novels and so on, it starts to get longer and the end is like a mirage. You think you've reached it and then you get there and, oh no, the horizon just moved again. This is a question for each of you. How do you sustain, because I think other people who don't write think, oh, once you've been published once, you must be so confident. Like you're just going to set yourself down and write more things and then they're going to turn into plays that get produced or they're going to turn into books that get published and so on, when, of course, it's not like that. There's so much precarity, uncertainty. As I go on in years, I sort of think we have to manage our emotions. We have to learn how to nurture our emotions, the ups and downs, and it takes a while to... I mean, some people, I guess, know how to do it naturally, but a lot of us don't. Like, Katie, how do you get through all these projects and sustain the focus and the determination? And
sometimes it's really easy. With some projects, it's just there. Everything just falls into your lap. It just feels like you're meeting the right people at the right time. At other times, it's difficult. There was a play that I had, which one theatre company was very, very keen on. We did a couple of developments, but I decided I didn't want to be with them anymore because I felt some internalised racism that was lingering underneath that wasn't really spoken of. I felt like the work wasn't given its proper integrity for that. And I felt like they were trying to push my work because I don't write political. I don't write anything political. I don't feel like we have to, being Aboriginal people in Australia. It's automatic. As soon as we're on stage, even if we just sat there and ate a bowl of cereal, it's going to be something political for some people. So I don't do that, and they're pushing my work into something which I don't want a law scene. I don't want to deal with cops. I deal with that in my own life. Weekly, daily sometimes. I don't want to deal with that aspect. It can be mentioned, but there's just things like that. I think you just got to find your clique and your crew, and you've got to be able to be strong enough to say no to people to keep the integrity of your work. Sometimes I think it's, do you want the money or do you want your integrity? Yeah. But I think it's just determination and just knowing that someone's going to listen. And, there's so many other ways of technology now. Like, do I really need to rely on a company? I mean, look, there's YouTube, there's all the other platforms where stories and things can be heard, especially, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are more technologies. And Ren, what about yourself?
So what was the question again?
I think I went off the track.
Yeah. No, you didn't go off the track. You turned it round. It was actually I was just thinking, I was like second guessing you and I did it completely wrong, because I was talking about how, there's so much precarity with writing and how do you deal with the disappointments, and then Katie was saying, oh, actually, no, I've got a lot of confidence and it's other people that have the problem when, which is great.
Okay, good.
That's good. It's good to, I think.
Yeah, I'm not a confident writer. As far as the disappointments go, I mean, I think especially in your early days, every rejection hurts until you understand the industry more and don't take it so personal. And I think I'm learning a lot about the industry, and I try to pass it on to the other people. So rejections don't hurt as much because you sort of like, well, you'll get through it. But for the last 10 years, I've basically been living off writing or writing adjacent work, which is quite hard. Like, there's a lot of times where I've not had any form of income for months. And so it's really very difficult. So I think in the early days, I wasn't saying no, I was saying yes to everything, which meant that looking back, I've written things that I'm really embarrassed to have out there, or that I felt that I was trying to please the person that commissioned, and so, really don't like some of it. But I needed the money, and now I'm more willing to choose fear and not having an income over writing things that I don't believe in or don't feel proud about. But that's scary as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about the industry, how do you where do you think earlier in our conversation you were saying for print writers, I think that's what you meant, that like novelists and short story writers, First Nations writers, that there's more opportunities now, if I understood you right. Do you think that's the case?
I don't know if it's more opportunities as much as critical mass. Like, there's so many of us out there writing and lifting each other up that it's sort of like, well, this is the era of black writing and black playwrights and black film, and it's a golden era. So there's not necessarily, there are some specific opportunities, but I think it's just as important for us to apply for mainstream awards and go for mainstream things, because we need to show everyone that's coming up behind us that you don't need to be put into a box and only go for things that have been created for us. Take it all.
Mm-hmm. And I think it'll prove something more too, because sometimes I feel like the audience will go, oh, well, it's just an Aboriginal place, so we've got to be kind to them, you know.
Yeah.
Be kind to them, the little ones.
Pat on the head.
Yeah, well done.
I think you're probably right. And yet, shouldn't be like that. You should just go to the work with an open mind, and sometimes it's fun and interesting and nourishing or whatever, and sometimes it's going to make you feel uncomfortable as a white person. Then you just have to feel uncomfortable and work through your I think work through that discomfort and acknowledge that.
But I think for a lot of us, we're not even thinking about that. You know, like, we're writing stories we want to write. We want to write stories that other black people read and connect to. Like, other people are welcome to absorb what we're creating, but we're not writing or acting for them.
Talking about audience and expectations, thank you, Ren. How did you find the live reading? You opened the night on October 7. It was such a wonderful reading.
Oh, well, the audience was so kind and friendly, and but it's the work too. I mean, we had them in the palm of our hands, Ren. So they absolutely loved it. You could see people's eyes just like, especially with the whole imagery thing, with a lot of the vomiting, you know, some people are like, my God, there's more coming out. But yeah, no, I thought it was amazing. It was an amazing live read, such a receptive audience, such a great work to read, and it just very inspiring again, made me want to kind of get back into my writing, because I've put it off for a little while. So I was just like, oh my God, yes, this is great. So thank you for that, for inspiring me again. And
and it was one of the parts of StorySALOON as the director that I really enjoy is we always rehearse with the actors. People sometimes think that the actor just turns up and does their magic. Yeah. Well, actually, it's not quite like that. There's a lot of prep. And it was just really good rehearsing with you and talking about the story and stopping and pausing, and we'd debate bits. And, do you think it's this, or do you think it's that, or, you know, what's happening with Triana here? And and I remember,
is she in reality at this moment?
Yeah. And what do the moths mean? Is it this? Is it that? Like, is it just? Yeah, actually, there was something I was wanting to ask you about, like the moths. It was just, they came to you. Are they symbolic? Is it like, they're not butterflies? I mean, butterflies are kind of, that couldn't be butterflies because they're sort of pretty happy things.
Again, it's the image. Like, there is a lot of symbology in what I write, but I don't do deep thinking about it. It just comes to me. Like, and the other thing too is that, you know, that's 5 years ago I wrote that, and I think at some point stories are no longer connected to me. They're out there in the world. How other people want to interpret them has nothing to do with me. You know, I'm quite confident to go out there, you know, do your thing. I think it was early last year, I was invited over to Trinity College in Melbourne Uni, and they'd chosen that story as part of the foundation course, where people that had left school early or coming from overseas, and they do foundation course before they enroll in uni. So that was part of that curriculum. And so I went over there to do a train the trainer, to do a workshop with the lecturers teaching that story. And they ended up teaching me a lot about that story I never knew about, and I think that's okay. I don't own it anymore. It's out there.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued to know what they discovered. But
mainly about genre. They were picking things up about genre and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
That I hadn't seen, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And other audiences, Katie, sorry, this is the peripatetic mind going from audiences to talking about something else, back to audiences. Do you love having an audience?
Love it. Absolutely love it. It makes everything better.
Ren, did that sound sincere?
Yeah, totally. I totally understand. There's energy in an audience that probably feeds back to your performance.
It
for
does.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just having everybody, because I'm actually really kind of shy, to be away and not noticed. So that's oh, wow, I can be noticed.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Let's instead give a shout out to the very first, Australia's First Nation literary journal that's been launched at RMIT.
Oh, Melbourne.
Is this an exclusive?
No, they've put calls for pictures out, and I'm really sorry, I've forgotten what it's called. I think it could be First Stories or something like that.
Sovereign Texts?
Yes.
Journal of First Peoples Literature.
Yes.
We publish literary and scholarly works written by Australian First Peoples.
Yes.
Sovereign Text aims to publish once a year, both in print and online.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I think that's really amazing, but it's also about the shift and the evolution of our writing, because I think with plays, Aboriginal plays first started coming out in the early 70s or late 60s?
70s.
1970s.
Yeah.
So playwrights and poets were the first form of storytelling, not talking about originally storytelling, but the first forms of performance and that. And then came nonfiction a bit. But fiction itself, as in novels, didn't start being published until 1980s. We were all born before then. So the first Aboriginal novel, I think, was published in 1986 or something like that. And that was a posthumous biography anyway. So it wasn't with Alexis and Kim, their novels were coming out in the 1990s. So that's not long ago. So we might look at this journal coming out and go, why did it take so long? But when you think about it, there's literature, First Nations literature is really, really still new. And I'm talking about the printed version. I'm not talking about the 80,000-year-old tradition of storytelling. So we're in exciting times.
Oh, it is exciting. I started teaching creative writing at UTS in, I think, 93. And in the various classes that I had, undergraduate classes, there were First Nations students. And I would try, and find things for everybody that they were interested in, but I would try and find works for them because they're trying to find their voice. And there was so few, and then actually 2 or 3 of them were fraudulent people.
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember the names now, but
we all know their names.
Yeah, the famous frauds, and then sort of mid-90s it started to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, there was literally. I remember putting together a list, and I had access to the library. I was a researcher. I knew how to find things, and there just wasn't much. I mean, there was more poetry
and plays were the beginning of it all.
Yeah, but for narrative writers, there was
hardly any.
Yeah.
But then if we go further back, the first Aboriginal literature, written literature, was stolen. So David Unipen in the 1960s, wrote a collection of stories, Nurundjeri stories, published it under a white man's name. David's name wasn't even on it. So his work was stolen and he never saw his name on that collection. He died. He was quite old. He died in his 90s, but eventually it was republished under his name after he died. But yeah.
And
I mean, like, our work is stolen now, our culture, our stories are stolen, but then his actual written labour was stolen. Yeah.
opportunistically by the other author, by the person who wasn't an author, in fact.
But the publisher knew.
Oh, did they?
Sorry, don't sue me. But I mean, it's all there online anyway. If you look up his story, but I'm not 100% sure which publisher it was, but his work was stolen and published under a white person's name.
And then there seemed to be, and I mean, I'm just going on memory, but there seemed to be also more memoir because people needed to tell, like if you haven't even told your own story, how can you tell, like how can you move on into the world? That was the feeling that...
Autobiography, So the first, after plays and poetry, autobiography, but then they started getting written in a novel style, like, Rabbit Proof Fence, for example, is autobiography, but it was written in a novel type style. And that's still happening. I think the fancy word for it is metafiction or something like that.
Or autofiction?
Autofiction, that's right, yeah. But we're seeing a lot of scholarly and academic and non-fiction as well. But I like to remind people that our work is on the back of playwrights, black playwrights and poets. I think that's really important not to forget that.
Right. Okay. So, applause to you, Katie, as a playwright. How do you see Indigenous theatre having evolved in the years that you've been writing and producing?
To be honest, not a lot. We're still telling a lot of the same stories. It's all about stolen generation. Well, even though it's still happening, but it's about, all the stories are based pre-mission days, when we first got colonised and stuff. Rarely do you see a modern day play, and if you do, it's all, again, deaths in custody. Everything's about deaths in custody, being raped, and all the negative things. And then even when you go downstairs and you talk to the audience, all the audience are old white females and males, and the males are usually brought there by their wives, so they fell asleep in half of the play anyway. And then they just want you to educate them on Aboriginal history. And if you don't come from out back somewhere, you're probably not black enough for them, so their eyes glaze over and they'll go to the other blacker one. And it hasn't really evolved. The same questions are being asked, even for like the last 20 years. I've been in the industry for 20 years. Same questions are being asked. How are we going to own our own works? Black producers. It's the same questions. It has not evolved. I feel the works haven't evolved. I feel everything's stagnant. I don't feel like our works are going anywhere. Even like black comedy and things, I don't find them funny. I found that they fell flat, and I found that they were for the white man.
Is that because, like, where you're going to get your money from for the production, that people are kind of that the writers are?
You get pushed. That's what I mean. That's why I say no to a lot of things, to a lot of people.
So how is this going to change?
That's the big question, isn't it? How is it going to change? A lot of things has to change through people's mentality, the expectations of Aboriginal people and playwrights and about what we can do. I think really then people just educating themselves and stop relying on us to educate them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think film sort of follows what you're talking about with the play, but do you think it's TV series where we are seeing changing stories? Like there's a lot more contemporary stories there, or you think you view it the same?
Feel the same.
Even not changing.
Even Miranda's show, like Up the Top End or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still got to be married to a white guy. The white guy still has all these power. Like it's just ridiculous. Like it's not. Yeah. It's not. I personally believe it's not changing.
Yeah.
It's still the same stories, and we're still going through a lot of the same battles that even my dad went through. It's just different. It's just racism's more converted, you know? That's it.
So if you look at, and the same thing with some novels too, like there's always some patterns there. It's always like a main character has to be raped for them to change, to get angry or to addiction or something. The main character always has to hook up with a white man. And a beloved female Aboriginal character has to be killed off. There's always these patterns there. Yeah.
I agree. That's the same patterns for us.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you can apply that to novels, film, whatever. And I try to write away from that. Like, I'm so over rape as a trope, you know, like, why do we have to go there all the time? There are more creative ways to change a character to demonstrate something than that. It's lazy writing and it's trauma porn.
I mean, as a teacher, because, you know, I've done a lot of teaching and for many, many years, it's also quite traumatising. And, I mean, for readers, it's not necessarily very useful because what are you actually wanting, like, what? I mean, it's important because it happens, but there's so many other ways of communicating fear, sorrow, growing up, friction in families. Like, it doesn't have to go to the nth degree.
Yeah, for me, I've just kind of started to feel a bit bored of plays and stuff because I feel like I am going to see the same play over and over again, just with a different cast, different dialogue, but it's basically the same story that's going to happen. Especially at the bigger companies, you know, like STC or Belvoir that are going to put on anything that's, you know, Indigenous, you know what to expect. You know, well, whereas like, I know Ilbidri, whereas it is an Aboriginal theatre company, you know you're going to get something a bit more powerful. We're going to, with music and joy, but there's still going to be some trauma there because it's there, but it's not going to be the main focus and that's not going to make the character. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, theatre does thrive on something, you know, it needs literally the drama. You know, you want that, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the same traumas. Just one question though, do you think with the stolen generations, do you feel that there's theatre and that is dealing with the contemporary, continuing stolen generation?
No, I've got a play that has been written about that, that's been put out, but no, everything else before that I would say is about stolen generation before.
But it's also like, you know, there's a lot of cult material out there about the stolen generation, but also about early massacre, first contact era, missions. So, yeah, there's a lot of repetition.
Yeah, like I've done so many mission stories, it's ridiculous. I don't know how many times I've been in the 1800s in plays and in TV as a little mission girl, mission woman, being raped again.
Yeah. But I think it's okay to keep writing those stories as long as it's something fresh and new and you're bringing something new to the table. But then how do you do that? That's quite hard.
It's tricky because history is important and then people don't know history. I mean, they remarkably do not know. I mean, how they don't know, I don't know. But what you're saying, I guess, is we need more opportunity for variation, for new stories.
Yeah, for new stories and also, and to be telling our stories of, you know, Aboriginal people aren't the same as what we were back in the colonial days. Most of them back then, they knew language, they knew how to hunt, eat and everything. We don't now, so stop pretending that we do. Stop trying to use language on stage that isn't our languages just to make it more black. Stop throwing dirt in the air and painting yourself up. Stop doing that just to make yourself black, you know, to get a bit of money. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I find it embarrassing because it's not who we are. We evolve. Every nationality evolves. I mean, look at like Polish people. How many times have they been invaded by different countries and things? You know, they're still strong in their people. So that's what I just think. I think we just need to make our stories evolve more. And as you said, if we want to tell something old, bring something fresh to the table. Make it your own personal story and not do still research on, I don't know, your country, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think like we need to be bold and more experimental.
I think so.
Like I mean, like some of the original playwrights, like, Brand New Day, and that was pretty groundbreaking at the time, comedic, musical that still touched on difficult things.
And it's still relatable to today, I think.
That's
a good thing about
that one did well to be relatable now. It's really hard, isn't it, to step up and be bold enough to do something fresh.
Because I feel like all we're doing is we're catering to our white audience. We're catering to them. We're not telling the stories that we wanted to be told because they want to hear these stories from our trauma. And that's what I feel as a playwright, which really annoys me, because when I was writing that play, Which Way Home, as well, because it's just about me and my dad.
Yeah.
And
I love that title, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the story, at the end, we find out that he's dead, so I'm taking him back to country. But
really?
Yeah, the whole time he's just alive, and you think I'm talking to him.
Well, there you go. There's that boldness and that experimentation that's really necessary.
Yeah, well, that's why Annie Rachel's like, how am I going to do this? It's a ghost, and you're driving, and you're not moving. So I think, people just need to be a bit more, just be able to push those boundaries a bit more. Yeah.
I think we also have to stop being worried about audience and production. Like, don't worry so much of, is someone going to pay me to do this? Is it going to work commercially? We shouldn't have to think about the commercial side, should we? But I know we do.
Yeah, you got to.
But craft's important.
Crafts, yeah.
Yeah, and I think being able to tell the story that you want to be told is important too.
Yeah,
I mean, what's more important for the person? I guess it's always money or your work, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I have a confession. My next work is about the Storm generation, but that's the work that I was awarded the black and white for by peers, and no ridiculous politician's going to take that away from me, that my peers selected that. The money was taken away from me. I know, I needed that money.
That's what I wanted. I mean, this is the thing, though. There are commercial pressures because you do need to earn a living, and you need to earn a living from your art, even if it's low living. Yeah. And it's very difficult writing things, and we all do this. We write things and then we can't find a home for them, and you move on to another project. And at some point you've got to land those projects.
I think you have to believe in your work so much that you would just keep pushing until you find a home for it. Like, I've done that in the past, and it hurts sometimes. It can take 5 years to find a publisher or something like that. But if you really believe in that work, you just keep pushing it. And this one will get published. I don't care if they've put it.
And actually sometimes that pushing and the rejections and so on, I mean, obviously, if you're really serious about your writing, you do look at the work again, and it does evolve, and you do revisions, or just some time passes and you look at it again and think, I want to work on it some more, and you do revisions. But it's still, it's an uphill battle.
I know this is going to be my last work that I write about the stolen generation. Like, I think I've itched that itch, and I've got rid of it through this, very, very long epic novel. But I did try to put something new in there. So, like, there's actually a sentient willy who rescues the children and takes them home. But the way that the children navigate home is through a memory, whether that's a sound, a touch, a smell, a taste, and they think of that very strong memory of home or family, and the willy can take them home. But what I've also done, that this sentient being can just be can say exactly what they want. So they're absolutely picking on settlers and everything, and that's okay because they're not a person. They're not a blackfellow. They're a whirlwind. So I really enjoyed writing that. It was damn hard, really, really hard. And I think after this, I've already started experimenting and writing different things. I don't need to probably write so heavily about history anymore. And it sounds like you're already there. You've left.
Oh, I left that building a long time ago. I haven't even got on that building in terms of writing.
Yeah.
I would say, though, a story that I don't feel, and I could be wrong, but I have talked about this with other Indigenous writers and readers, is the story of Aboriginal mothering and Like, I think there almost needs to be an encyclopedia of how mothers have mothered and how they've had to adapt and change their mothering practices because of colonisation and the breakdown of family. And sometimes it's not, there's mothers who can't actually practice being mothers because they didn't have their children, and then there's other mothers who are mothering other people, other mothers' children as aunties or
I think poets are writing in that area a lot.
Maybe Ali. I think that
she's done that.
Hobby, but almost like as an area of research. Like when I said the encyclopedia, I literally meant maybe not an encyclopedia.
I know of some anthologies out there that are in very early stage that are totally focused on Aboriginal writers writing about motherhood. So that work's out there. It will come out.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the report into, when was it? It was so long ago now, but into Stolen Generations, where they did the interviews and, they had the Royal Commission.
Yeah.
It was the voices.
And next year's the 30th year.
Yeah, you're right. It was the voices of children, not so much the voices of mothers. And yet some of those children were mothers by the time they spoke to the Royal Commission.
Elfie Saki does a lot of work in that area, and so does Natalie Harkin.
Okay,
so they've sort of like gone into family archives and other archives, and Elfie in particular got letters from parents, mostly mothers, writing to people like A.O. Neville asking for their children back. So there's this idea that everyone was just passive and just like let it all happen, but that's not true at all.
No.
The first literature, if we go back beyond playwright, was actually parents writing to try to get their children back. But even further back to then, there was the petitions, the Buck petition. And so the first Aboriginal written literature was political, absolutely political.
But political, but from what I remember of reading just a few samples of it, often very powerfully lyrical, beautifully expressed.
Oh, yeah, totally, yeah.
Persuasive. Not persuasive enough to actually change the outcome.
Who they were writing to didn't care. They were just into dehumanisation and otherness and control. So I think Anita Heiss has written about the history of literature, written literature, in her PhD, which became a book, and she traces written literature right back to early contact time. Was the first Aboriginal writers who were writing for rights and for their children and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
A long and rich history and a really exciting future, we hope.
Yeah.
That will.
Mm-hmm. We're in the golden era.
In the golden era. Yeah. You heard it.
I'd like to see more musicals, though.
I'll write you one.
Thank you.
Is that something? Can you do that? Can you write a musical?
I probably could with my little brother.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you back here with your little brother.
Yeah.
And Ren in a year, and we'll play some beats maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you, Ren Wyld. Thank you, Katie Beckett.
Thank you.
I think we've done a great In the Saloon with. Thank you very much.
Good luck with editing.
You've been listening to an episode of In the Saloon with. Your host has been Jane Messer, recording by Martin Gallagher, along with sound design. A big thanks to the whole StorySALOON team.